Grief
I
doesn't
can't
knock
stop thinking
politely.
about you.
It kicks the
Oh,
door in,
really? Tell me
scatters
more.
your sense of
Just you and
direction,
me,
and
here.
leaves you standing in the wreckage, holding a child who is too young to understand why mommy isn't coming home. That was how life felt for Daniel Harper at 34, like a house with half the lights burned out. 2 years earlier, his wife, Emily, had died in a car accident on a rain-slick highway outside of Cleveland. One moment she was on her way home from a late nursing shift, the next, a state trooper was standing on Daniel's porch, hat pressed to his chest, speaking words that didn't sound real. Now it was just Daniel and his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, in a small blue house with a white porch swing that creaked in the wind. Daniel learned how to braid hair by watching YouTube videos at midnight. He learned that cereal counted as dinner on especially hard days. He learned that grief didn't move in a straight line, it circled back when you least expected it. He worked full-time as a mechanic, grease permanently settled in the lines of his hands. He packed lunches with handwritten notes that said things like, "You're braver than you think." And every night, after Lily fell asleep clutching her stuffed elephant, he would sit on the edge of his bed and stare at the quiet. Loneliness is a different kind of heavy when you're carrying it alone for two. Daniel hadn't planned to start dating again. The idea felt disloyal at first, like erasing something sacred. But his sister, Rachel, gently reminded him that loving again didn't mean loving Emily less. It just meant his heart was still alive. So, on a chilly Friday evening in early fall, Daniel found himself standing outside a small Italian restaurant downtown, nervously adjusting the collar of his only blazer. Her name was Ava. They'd met through a friend of a friend. She worked in nonprofit administration, loved old movies, and, according to Rachel, had the kindest smile you'll ever see. Daniel wasn't sure what he was expecting, but he wasn't expecting his heart to pound like he was 16 again. When Ava walked in, he recognized her immediately from her photos. She wore a deep green sweater and carried herself with quiet confidence. Her smile was warm, but there was something else in her eyes, something searching. "Daniel," she asked. "That's me." He stood quickly, almost knocking over his water glass. "Ava." "Hi." They laughed, the awkwardness easing. Dinner started like most first dates do. They talked about work, about Lily, about how hard it was to find decent coffee after 8 p.m. in Cleveland. Ava listened closely when he talked about his daughter, asking thoughtful questions instead of offering polite nods. "She sounds amazing," Ava said. "You must be really proud of her." "I am," Daniel admitted. She's the best thing in my life." There was no pity in Ava's expression. Just understanding. Halfway through their meal, as the waiter cleared their plates, Ava tilted her head slightly and studied him more intently. "You really don't remember me?" she asked softly. Daniel blinked. "I'm sorry." Her smile didn't fade, but her eyes shimmered with something fragile. "We've met before." He searched her face. The curve of her cheek. The shape of her eyes. Nothing clicked. "I'm sorry," he said again, embarrassed. "I don't think I." "It was 2 years ago," she continued gently. "At Mercy General Hospital. The night Emily," her voice trailed off. The air between them shifted. Daniel's chest tightened. Mercy General. The sterile smell. The buzzing fluorescent lights. The doctor's careful tone. "I was there," Ava said. "My mom was in the ICU down the hall. I remember you sitting on the floor outside the trauma room." The restaurant noise faded into a dull hum. Daniel swallowed hard. He remembered that floor. Cold tile against his palms. His world collapsing in real time. "You couldn't stop shaking," Ava said quietly. "You kept saying, 'I have a little girl at home. I don't know how to tell her.'" He felt exposed, like someone had pulled open a drawer he'd kept locked. "There was a vending machine down the hall," Ava continued. "You didn't have any cash. You hadn't eaten all day. I bought you a sandwich and a bottle of water." And then it hit him. A blurry memory, someone pressing a plastic-wrapped turkey sandwich into his trembling hands. A soft voice saying, "You need to eat. For your daughter." "I thought you were a nurse," Daniel whispered. Ava shook her head. "Just a daughter trying not to lose her mom." His throat burned. "Your mom. She passed away that night," Ava said. "About an hour after Emily." Silence settled between them, thick and sacred. Daniel leaned back in his chair, stunned. "I didn't know. I didn't even say thank you." "You did," Ava said gently. "You looked at me like you were drowning, and you said, 'I don't know your name, but I'll never forget this.'" His chest cracked open. "I've thought about you over the years," Ava admitted. Not in a strange way. Just, wondering if you and your little girl were okay. Daniel felt something shift inside him, not just surprise, but awe. In the worst night of his life, when everything felt merciless and cruel, there had been a stranger who chose kindness. "I'm sorry I didn't recognize you," he said, voice thick. "It was dark. And we were both falling apart," she replied. They sat there, two people bound by a night neither of them would ever forget. "What made you agree to this date?" Daniel finally asked. Ava smiled. "When Rachel showed me your picture, I knew. I wasn't sure if you'd remember me. Part of me hoped you wouldn't. I didn't want that night to be the only reason you saw me." He exhaled slowly. "I wish I'd known sooner. I don't know. I would have thanked you properly. You just did." The rest of the evening felt different. Deeper. They weren't just exchanging surface details anymore. They were sharing scars. Daniel told her about the nights Lily cried herself to sleep. About the first time he tried to cook pancakes and set off the smoke alarm. Ava told him about cleaning out her mother's closet alone, about learning how to navigate holidays with an empty chair at the table. Grief had shaped them both. But it hadn't hardened them. As they stepped outside into the cool night air, Daniel felt something unfamiliar blooming in his chest. "Hope, would you like to meet Lily sometime?" he asked carefully. Ava's eyes widened slightly. "I'd like that. But only if you're ready." "I don't know if anyone's ever really ready," he admitted. "But I know she deserves to see that kindness still exists in this world." A week later, Ava stood nervously on Daniel's porch, holding a small box of cupcakes. Lily opened the door before Daniel could. "Hi," Lily said brightly. "Are you my dad's friend?" Ava crouched down to her level. "I hope so. I brought cupcakes as a peace offering." Lily gasped. "You can come in." Daniel watched from the hallway as the two of them sat at the kitchen table, frosting smudged on their fingers. Ava listened to Lily's animated story about losing her front tooth, laughing at all the right moments. Later that night, after Ava left, Lily climbed into Daniel's lap. "I like her," she declared. "Yeah?" he asked. "She's nice. And she looks at you like mommy used to." Daniel's breath caught. Kids notice everything. Months passed. Ava became a steady presence, never trying to replace Emily, never forcing her way into their lives. She helped Lily with school projects, cheered at soccer games, and once spent an entire Saturday building a cardboard castle in the living room. One evening, nearly a year after that first date, the three of them visited Mercy General Hospital, not for tragedy, but for something entirely different. Ava had organized a small volunteer initiative through her nonprofit. They were delivering care packages to families sitting in the same waiting rooms they once had. Daniel hesitated at the entrance, memories flickering. Ava reached for his hand. "We're not who we were that night," she said softly. Inside, they handed out sandwiches, bottled water, and handwritten notes that read, "You are not alone." At one point, Daniel spotted a man sitting on the floor outside a treatment room, face buried in his hands. Without hesitation, Daniel walked over and knelt beside him. "I don't know what you're going through," he said gently. "But I know it's heavy. Have you eaten?" The man shook his head. Daniel handed him a sandwich. It wasn't a grand gesture. It wouldn't erase the pain. But it was something. Later, as they walked back to their car under the fading Ohio sky, Daniel squeezed Ava's hand. "That night could have broken me completely," he said. "But you were there." "We were both there," she corrected. He looked at Lily skipping ahead of them, carefree and bright. "Kindness doesn't fix everything," Daniel said. "But sometimes it's the thread that stitches you back together." Ava leaned her head on his shoulder. "And sometimes," she added, "it brings you back to the people you didn't even know you'd need." Life had not given Daniel a second chance at the past. Emily would always be part of their story.